As you watch this, someone is standing on the floor of the Colosseum taking a photo with no idea they're standing on a roof. Below their feet is a maze that once held lions, gladiators, and a machine built to make men appear out of the ground in the middle of a fight with no warning. Here's what almost nobody standing there understands. The most famous building on Earth has a second building hidden inside it. Not beside it, not near it, directly underneath the exact spot where they're standing for their photo. For 400 years, that second building ran the entire show, and for most of its history since, it's had exactly one job: to disappear. Everyone knows the Colosseum, the 4 rings of arches, the scale, more than 50,000 people packed into stone tiers around a single oval floor. But here's the part your eyes skip past every time you've seen a photo of it. The floor is gone. What you're actually looking at when you lean over that rail today isn't the arena, it's the basement, a skeleton of brick corridors that was never built to be seen by anyone in the stands. The drop down to it is about 6 meters, roughly a 2-story house. That's the entire gap that used to separate 50,000 cheering spectators from an operation running in total darkness beneath their feet. That's not decay, that's design. So the real question isn't what happened at the Colosseum. It's smaller and stranger, and almost nobody at that rail ever asks it. What was happening under the sand at the exact same moment the crowd was watching the show above it? It has a name, the Hypogeum, Greek for underground, not a basement in any casual sense. A 2-level network of corridors, chambers, and vertical shafts running under the entire footprint of the arena above it, 83 meters long, 48 wide. The same size as the killing floor sitting on top of it, mirrored underground, brick for brick, roughly the length of a football pitch, except walked in the dark under a ceiling low enough to bang your head on. And here's the detail that should stop you. None of this was in the original design. When the Colosseum opened in the year 80, the floor was just a floor. What's under the sand today was bolted on a decade or so later, which means the single most famous feature of the whole building was, structurally speaking, an afterthought. To understand why Rome built a second building under its first one, go back to opening day. The year is 80. Emperor Titus launches the Colosseum and doesn't just stage gladiator fights, he floods the arena floor and stages full naval battles. Real warships crewed by condemned men sinking each other in front of 50,000 people inside a building most people assume was always dry land. It happened at least twice in those first years. Then it stopped, completely, forever. Here's the part that changes how you see the whole building. The naval battles didn't stop because Rome lost interest. Emperor Domitian made a choice that physically destroyed the option to ever flood the arena again. He built the Hypogeum. Once that maze of cages and machinery went into the ground, there was no open basin left to fill with water. So the moment it was finished, an entire category of Roman spectacle, ships, sailors, real naval combat staged in the heart of the city, was gone. Traded for the opposite: total dryness, total darkness, and enough hidden infrastructure to make a bear erupt out of solid ground in under 3 seconds. One form of spectacle for another, and almost nobody who visits the Colosseum today knows that trade ever happened. So what did they build instead of a lake? Not a basement, a machine. Here's what the Hypogeum actually was: not a dungeon. A theatre machine built at a scale nobody's matched since. Roughly 80 vertical shafts, each aligned with one of 36 trapdoors in the wooden floor above. At the bottom of each shaft, a platform on ropes and counterweights hauled by a capstan, a giant wooden winch turned by hand by teams of enslaved workers moving in the dark. Here's how one lift worked. An animal, say a bear, gets caged at the base of a shaft. A second door, facing straight up, stays sealed by its own counterweight, so the animal can't force it open early. The lift team turns the capstan. The lift rises, gaining speed, and right as it reaches the top, the door releases at the exact same instant the trapdoor above swings open. So from the crowd's point of view, there's no cage, no door, no shaft, just a bear erupting out of solid sand mid-roar, like the ground itself gave birth to it. Multiply that across dozens of shafts firing in sequence, and you get what the Roman writer Herodian described directly: 100 lions seeming to rise out of the earth in a single moment, as if summoned rather than delivered. Stagehands could turn an empty sand floor into a forest, then clear it, then turn it into a desert, all in one afternoon without the crowd ever seeing a single hinge or rope. Gladiators used this machine too. Most didn't even start their walk to the Colosseum from inside the building. They came from the Ludus Magnus, the gladiator school 200 meters away, through a dedicated underground tunnel, so they could appear at the arena without ever being seen approaching it. Even the emperor had his own private tunnel, so he could come and go without wading through the exact crowd he was there to entertain. Every part of this was built around one rule: the audience gets the result. The audience never gets the machine. Which raises the obvious question, because 80 shafts and 36 trapdoors don't run themselves. Something had to be down there, every single event, keeping this working in total darkness, out of sight of the 50,000 people it existed to serve.
Quick pause. If you had no idea any of this was under your feet, or this is the first time you're learning the Colosseum has a second building hidden inside it, subscribe. This channel exists for exactly this, the half of famous places nobody photographs. Back underground, because the people running that machine had a much worse view of it than we do. On a full event day, this wasn't a handful of workers. Historians estimate 300 or 400 people down there at once: animal handlers, stagehands, lift crews, and the gladiators themselves, all sharing the same underground floor plan at the same time. None of it was comfortable. No ventilation cut through solid Roman concrete, just torchlight, oil smoke, and whatever air moved through 80 open shafts. And everyone down there worked within arm's reach of something that could kill them: a starving bear in a badly timed cage, a rope under enough tension to take a hand off, a trapdoor that had to fire in under 3 seconds without crushing whoever stood on it. Now put yourself in a gladiator's position. You're in a holding room, waiting. You can't see the arena, you can't see the crowd. All you have is sound. 50,000 people directly above your head, and no way to know if that roar means the fight before yours just ended cleanly or badly. Then it's your turn. You don't walk out into daylight through a doorway. You're loaded onto a platform in the dark, hauled straight up through a shaft you can't see the top of, and the first light you've seen in hours is the instant the trapdoor opens directly into 50,000 screaming strangers. That's the part the postcards never show you. And once Rome stopped needing the show, this entire machine did the one thing it had always been built to do best. It disappeared. The last recorded games happened in the early 6th century. After that, Rome had no use for the building, and even less for the machine hidden underneath it. What followed was centuries of slow burial. Earthquakes cracked the structure, Rome's population collapsed, and the people who remained saw a quarry, not a monument. Stone pulled out block by block for churches and palaces across the city. The Hypogeum filled in with debris, then dirt, then centuries of neglect. By the early 1800s, it sat under an estimated 40 feet of solid earth. The trick had buried its own trick.
2 attempts to dig it back out, in 1811 and again in 1874, both failed. Groundwater flooded the site each time. It wasn't fully cleared until the 1930s, and the reason says almost as much about the 20th century as the structure says about the first. Mussolini's government wanted it exposed dramatically as a symbol of the empire fascist Italy claimed to be reviving. For the first time in roughly 1400 years, the Hypogeum saw daylight again. Even then, nobody fully understood what they were looking at. It took until the mid-1990s for archaeologists to actually map it properly, phase by phase. Tours only opened to the public around 2010. And right now, there's a project trying to answer the opposite question. Engineers building a new retractable floor to cover it back up on command, then open it again whenever they choose. It's taken years longer than planned, which might be the most fitting detail in this entire story.
Here's the thing that actually stays with me about all of this. The Colosseum was built to be seen from every seat in Rome, still one of the most photographed objects on Earth. But its most important part, the part that made every spectacle inside it actually work, was engineered from day one to be invisible. And it still is, in a way, not underground anymore, in plain sight. Thousands of people lean over that rail every single day, and most read the exposed brick maze below as ruins, as decay, rather than what it actually is, the most sophisticated piece of stagecraft the ancient world ever built, sitting there in full view, doing nothing now except waiting to be noticed. Rome built the Colosseum to be seen. Every arch, every tier, every inch of stone facing the street was designed to announce itself to the entire city. Then Rome built the Hypogeum to do the opposite, to stay hidden, to make the emperor's spectacle look effortless by making sure nobody ever saw the effort. One of those buildings became the face of an empire. You've seen it on postcards, on the 5-cent euro coin. The other became its secret. And even now, wide open under the Roman sky, most people still walk right past it without knowing they're looking at the part that actually ran the show. If this changed how you see the place, tell me in the comments. And if you know another famous landmark that might be hiding a second building underneath the one everybody photographs, name it below. I might build the next one around your answer.